And we're live. Hey man,
That's
for
it.
everybody that's watching the channel, I just started this interview type, talk show type thing where I'm gonna call like all sorts of people in here and we're gonna talk about tech and other stuff too. So Frank, I want you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. Let's see, where to fucking start, man. My name's Frank. I'm a software engineer by trade. Yeah, I don't even really know where to
Did
begin,
you
I
go to
guess.
college?
Yeah, I'm an enterprise software engineer at the moment. Started from, say that again?
Did you go to college? Is the sound
Let me see
okay?
if I'm on my VPN right now. My connection's
Okay, do you hear me now?
a little bit, yeah.
Okay, now it's good for me too. Um,
Uh,
yeah, so we have a bit of interruptions, but it's fine. We're pushing on. So you basically moved away from mobile and
it's
into
expected. We
AWS
are,
like just
we are
randomly?
across the globe.
Yeah, yeah. You're in the US, I'm in Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you hear me with a delay? Yeah, I think you're hearing me with a delay.
Yeah.
So basically, you did go to college in
Yeah.
computer science while you were working a desk job. Okay, so how did you decide to go to college for this type of stuff? And how old were you when you decided to do it?
Good question. So I originally went for audio engineering. I'm a big music person as well. So that's how I started school. I did that for maybe a year or two. I was 18 or 19, something like that. And then I switched majors to music business. I wanted to be more of like a music attorney at that point. I still wanted to be in the music industry, but the audio engineering wasn't as enjoyable as I expected. And then I switched again. I've always been involved with computers and technology because my father's a senior security engineer. So he's always been big into tech. And so honestly, I wish I had a better story, but I looked at the salaries of audio engineers versus software engineers.
That's my story too.
And yeah, software engineers were a fucking hockey stick.
Yeah, I mean, all these
So
people say that you should have passion for the field. And the way I see it, passion comes after the results. I didn't like this thing one bit when I started. And now I like it.
yeah,
It just grows on you. You know, so
yeah,
that's why I tell beginners all the time, don't worry about the passion, it's gonna come. And even if you don't like it, the reality is that for most people, you're probably not gonna like your job anyway, so you might as well earn a good amount of income.
yeah, that helps. Thankfully, I did have. I wouldn't say I was passionate about it, but I've always liked technology and learning technology, and I've always had a love of math as well. So it kind of was a natural transition, especially once I saw the salary boost. I'm like, well, I'm clearly gonna go here. So
Yeah. Since we're at the topic of income, one thing that I told you I really want to touch about is your savings system.
yeah.
How do you actually end up saving over 80% of your income in the
Uh,
US, particularly since you live in the US where it's expensive to live?
yeah, it's a good question. So I'll add that my goal is around 80%. I don't think maybe I've hit that once or twice per month, but it's pretty rare that I actually hit 80. It's more along the lines of 50 to 70, somewhere around that range, but it's
That's still
still
pretty
pretty
good.
decent. How I do it. It's a good question. I have a lot of systems.
Do you track expenses and stuff like that?
Yeah, I track everything. I got a lot of spreadsheets. So I keep track of all my expenses. The biggest thing that I could do was to limit my expenses every month. So I mean, I don't live like a fucking hermit. I go out and stuff, and I still enjoy life as much as I can.
Well,
but I also
it helps that as a software engineer you earn a lot, and so 60% probably still leaves you with a decent sum.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the biggest factors in my percentage that I'm able to save, is having a decent base salary to begin with makes it a lot easier. So I try to live my life algorithmically, so I don't have to actually think about it. So I set up systems in place, and I try to automate as much as possible so that it just happens, and then it frees my mind so that I'm able to actually think about stuff and enjoy life, I guess. So all my finances are somewhat automated. There's been this desire for me for my entire life, really, where I want a banking platform that allows me to write logic inside of it so that I can automate it fully.
Yeah, that would be a great idea.
Yeah, I've been searching for a platform for that my whole life. I've come pretty close sometimes. Mint? Say that again?
Have you tried Mint?
Yeah.
It's not available in where I live, so I wanted to ask you about that. Like, is it useful? Is it really a game changer?
I don't think so, no. It's more of a read-only kind of thing. It gives you some decent statistics and insights, but honestly, I haven't used it in several years, so it's probably better now, but yeah, I haven't used it in several years. I used to scrape my bank's website, and I wrote scripts before they changed the UI. That would 100% automate all my finances, but they changed the UI, and I've switched banks several times since then, so my scripts don't work anymore, but I still have a pretty decent amount of it automated.
What did you use for that type of stuff, for scraping? I remember
Python.
Yeah,
that was the language.
With Selenium?
Yeah.
With Selenium?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember one of my first projects a few years ago when I first started out, and it was like my dream to make this thing that analyzes stocks based on like fundamental stuff. And I built this scraper with Python, and I didn't know shit about databases, so it would put all the data in a CSV, and then a PHP file would read from the CSV. It was chaos, but it kind of worked.
Yeah. That's definitely a great way to do it.
I think that's probably the biggest part of me. Maybe you agree, maybe you don't agree, but the biggest part of me learning stuff is just diving head first and doing a ton of stupid shit and figuring it out along the way. Yeah,
that's 100% what I do, man. Obviously, I'll read the documentation, and I've got a pretty decent core foundation in computer science, so that helps the learning curve a bit. But yeah, I just build shit, and once it breaks, that's really where I learn the most from, because everything that I build, literally 100% everything I build breaks.
Yeah, I think, do you know Arvid Kahl? He a few days or weeks ago, he said something to the effect of, all code is shit, don't worry about it. And I fully agree with that, because I look back onto code I've written for client work a year ago, and I'm like, this was written by a monkey. This couldn't be me.
Oh my god, that dude, when I first joined, so you imagine enterprise software solutions are just pristine and amazing because they're making millions and millions of dollars off this shit.
Yeah, you'd think
it is so fucked. It is so fucked inside. It's not even remotely enjoyable to work with.
I never worked for a big company. In fact, I've never had a job, to be fair. So maybe tell us a bit about like what's your experience with enterprise and corporate?
Yeah, so like I said, I started with startups. That's where I'm at presently. So I prefer the startup, scrappy environments where people are just, I don't know, they have their skin in the game, I guess, for lack of a better word. But from the enterprise side, there are a lot of benefits, and a lot of people love it. Obviously, it's just not for me personally. So there's a lot of stability with enterprise level software engineering jobs, and that's the biggest draw. I think is it's hard to get fired. I guess like it takes a while. You can fuck up for quite some time, and just due to all of the HR policies and regulations and just how giant and slow corporations are, like the facility is a huge draw
Yeah,
for people.
you broke off a bit, but I lost you. I like at the point where you said that it's so big that it's very hard to get fired.
Yeah, I said there's a lot of HR policies and just how slow corporations work. It takes a long time to get fired. Not that I've never been fired, but that's one of the draws to enterprise level work is that the stability is there.
But I'm assuming that there's like a lot of politics and just BS and just not like if you're like a type of guy that wants to do stuff and like wants some freedom, I'm guessing the bureaucracy kind of gets in the way sometimes.
Oh yeah, 100%, man. So just just an example. So I've had several meetings to prepare for the meeting directly after that. Like that's the
Like
corporate world in a nutshell.
that actually happens.
It happens weekly.
I've always thought the story about hey, we're having a meeting for a meeting. That I thought that like that's an exaggeration. It can't be that bad.
It's so much worse than you can imagine.
Okay, but I think I'm not gonna try it. I mean, anyway, I'm looking to break into a DAO with blockchain, and this kind of brings us to you because you're also doing the same thing right now. How's that going?
Yeah. So far so good. It's a little chaotic just for the time of year for me right now and stuff that's happening in my personal life. But the developer DAO, it's the most recent one that I've joined. That is easily the best career move that I've ever made, I think. Just the caliber of engineers there and the speed at which they're moving and just the general community itself. It's like nothing else I've ever experienced. It's almost like the ideal startup from my point of view. So
I'm
there's no money. People are just doing it because they're actually passionate about building cool Web3 technologies and they have the skill set to back it up. So it's just kind of amazing that the shit that they're pumping out. I have been involved with the job board projects and the what's it called? The create the DAO project. But like I said, I've had some personal shit come up recently, so I haven't fully been as involved as I would like. But I'm gonna be able to get back into it once the new year kicks off.
How did you break into DAO? Because from what I've kind of seen on Twitter, they're a bit like it's hard to break into it. They're a bit maybe exclusive about who they accept in and not. And I think that's a good thing, definitely.
Yeah, for developer DAO, there is an exclusivity to it, but it's more along the lines of if you were if you had heard about them prior to all of the tokens being minted. That's the only real exclusivity at the moment. There's talks to expanding the membership out now that all of the tokens are minted and we're kind of establishing more of operating procedures at this point. There's different guilds inside developer DAOs. There's a Writers Guild, there's Governance Guild, there's the Developers Guild, and they're each spearheaded by some leaders within the guild itself. And that's about it at the moment. As we're still in season 0, as they keep phrasing it, which makes me happy that they zero indexed it.
So, like, what's the aim of Developer DAO? And also, what's your aim with it?
Good question. Real good question. My personal aim is to network and grow my and Web3 technologies. That's my, my.
You broke off a bit. I think we're having some sound problems again.
Said, can you hear me?
Yeah, now it's good.
Okay. I said, me personally, I'm trying to network and grow my Web3 engineering abilities and experience. But as far as the entire DAO itself, there isn't really a general direction, which I think is good. I think we are narrowing things down and kind of moving towards an eventual goal, but I don't think that goal is going to be singular. And I hope it's not, because there's too many outstanding engineers, business people, and writers all within the developer DAO.
Going back to the finance discussion, I'm curious, and if you don't want to share the numbers, you don't have to, it's perfectly fine. But I'm curious, how much did you make in 2021? And I'm curious, like, what your portfolio is looking like currently. And then I'll have a few more questions.
Yeah. Let's see. How much did I make in 2021? I made well over 100,000 US in 2021. Portfolio for the previous year, I can pull up some numbers. Let me do that real quick.
They don't have to be super accurate. Like, it could be low 6 figures, high 6 figures, whatever you want to say.
Let's see. Portfolio returns were around 25%.
That's amazing. Are you heavy on crypto?
Yeah, definitely. Or heavy, no. So I've been involved with crypto since about 2010. Around 2010.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think the Bitcoin white paper came out around 2008. And I've heard of it around then. I read the paper around 2010, and that's when I started. I'm not going to say investing because it's all speculation still, in my opinion. But that's when I started buying my first Bitcoins, was around 2010. So I would, long story short, I definitely would have been retired a long time ago at this point. But I was one of the unfortunate people who had their shit stolen in a pretty famous exchange hack. So
which exchange?
I had about 99% of all of my Bitcoins taken.
Shit.
So now everything is 100% offline just because of that.
Hardware wallets.
I use hardware wallets now, and I don't fuck around with keeping anything liquid on exchanges. I don't have anything in MetaMask. Except, I got like a few thousand in there just to fuck around sometimes, but 99% of all that shit is offline now.
What do you like more? Trezor, man. What do you like more, Trezor or Ledger?
I've only ever used Ledger.
Yeah, it's got a better interface. Like it's got a better app and everything. It's just easier to use. I had the Ledger. Now I have a Trezor if I could find it. But basically I have to use like a converter to connect it to my MacBook. It doesn't have Bluetooth connection or
Oh,
anything
no
like that.
shit.
Yeah. So I actually found out about Bitcoin first in 2013, I think, and I was very young. I was like 13 years old, and I remember I told my father, "Hey, give me $1,000. I'm gonna put some money. We're gonna get rich." And he was like, "No, you're gonna get scammed." And I'm like, "No, okay, I'm gonna sell my Xbox. I'm gonna sell my Xbox. You're not selling your Xbox." And I'm a bit pissed that I didn't sell my Xbox. It would have been very much worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like I said, I had basically all my shit stolen. And at that point in my life, it was worth around maybe 150,000 US. And that was heartbreaking at that point in my life. Like I went into a pretty severe depression and just fucking drank away all my feelings for a couple months.
So, what are you doing right now? Did you like quit your job with AWS Technologies at where were you working, by the way?
I work for a startup company in California now. We're a stealth startup at the moment, so I can't really talk about it much.
Understandable.
But it's in the augmented reality, virtual reality space. That's about the biggest point I can talk about at this
Yeah,
point.
it's perfectly fine, man. So, are you like aiming to move away from that startup and get some sort of a blockchain position, or do you just want to still do that and then maybe freelance or contract as a blockchain developer on the side? What's your plan?
Good question. I definitely see my future as full-time work, either building out my current company more or 100% going blockchain engineering. I'm very entrepreneurial, so I've started companies, and all of them have flopped. But I'm always game to try something new, just because that's just how my brain works, and I like creating shit and providing value for people.
I think you're a good example of a person that followed their entrepreneurial spirit and started companies, but still had a job and didn't just waste all those years, because if you don't have a job, you're losing all that potential income, I think. So I think it's great that you did both. Tell us about your current business. Plug it in, talk about it.
You broke up a bit.
Where did I broke up?
Oh, you said tell me about what?
Tell me about your current business. Like, plug it in, talk about it. Tell us about it.
Oh, sure. So at this moment, I'm running a company called Lifeboss. URL's lifeboss.biz. It is a human-powered anti-procrastination chat service. That's how I pitch it. So I, ironically, I made it as low-tech as possible. I have some AI and machine learning background, and I purposely avoided building any sort of AI into the platform. Long story short, I got some roadmaps for where I'm taking it in 2022, but at this point, it's just to help people stop procrastinating and get shit done. Like,
So
the whole premise based on the name is you have a boss in your real life.
So as a freelancer, it would be good. Okay, I see. So it like works in the chat, you said?
Yeah, at this point, it's purely SMS based. I used to have like Signal and Discord and Slack channels available, but I even made it less barrier of entry. So you just chat with your life boss purely through SMS at this point.
So like basically, what is like an AI virtual assistant that reminds me, hey, I have to do this, you have to do that, something to that effect?
Yeah, The differentiator is that it's an actual person on the other end. There's no computers involved.
Okay. So how do you do that? Like, how do you get the people? How do you pay them? How does it work out?
The service itself is a subscription service, and then the people on the other end. Sometimes it's me, but most of the time I just outsource the work. So it's just other people on the other end, and the interactivity isn't much. I mean, you're not having lengthy conversations with the people at this point. So yeah, you just kind of send them your to-do list for the week or your goals.
So it's like
And then
it's like a basic concierge or like a virtual assistant that kind of keeps you accountable to your basic schedule for the week.
yeah, basically, yep. Yeah, it's so low tech.
That's good, man. Where do you outsource? Like, where do you find the employees?
I use freelancer.com. I've tried Upwork, just freelance websites like that. I'm definitely expanding out the service though for 2022. On the roadmap, there's going to be actual virtual assistants. There'll be 3 different tiers. So there's just the basic tier, which you have right now, which is more of a reminder service. The next tier will be reminders plus virtual assistants. They will be able to like schedule appointments for you, make calls for you. And then the third tier, which I'm most excited about, is actually a completely regulatory compliant RIA, which provides financial advising and helps you achieve your financial goals.
Okay, I see. So how much is the current plan cost per month?
At this moment, it's $24.99 a month. You can buy 3-month blocks, which comes out to maybe $20 a month. And then you can buy an entire year subscription, which comes out to like $15 a month, something like that.
The question is it profitable? And how long have you been running it? Because that matters a lot too.
It does. It's actually, I'm proud of it. So I've been running it since maybe September, I guess, is when I launched it. So I came up with the idea, built the MVP website, and got my first paying customer in under 24 hours.
That's amazing. It's much better than the last thing I started.
Dude, that doesn't happen. So I was very excited about that. And it's been profitable since then. Like there's very minor expenses, and that's by design. Like I said, I built it as purely MVP. The website's a piece of shit, in my opinion, but it does the job for now, and that's on my roadmap for next year is to upgrade the website.
Let me put it on the screen, and I'm gonna have it in the description too. How do you promote
pull it up. That'd be cool.
How do you promote it?
Say that again. I don't yet.
So it's like all organic?
It's all word of mouth.
What did you use to build it?
This was my first foray into no code. So I used a website called Card, CARRD.
Oh yeah, I know Card.
And yeah, it's just a drag and drop website builder.
Yeah.
Like I said, I came up with the idea, threw together the website in an evening, and then got my first paying customer the next day.
That's amazing if you ask me. Because I started
yeah.
I don't know if I told you, but I started I think in February I had a month where I didn't have any clients, no leads, nothing, and I figured, what am I gonna do this month? Well, what if I start building something? And I started building it's Gumroad, but instead of processing payments with fiat, you process payments with crypto. Initially, it was just Bitcoin.
Okay, nice.
And I started building it, and I contacted, because most of my clients are like digital creators that sell courses on Gumroad, and that's how I kind of got the idea. And I told them, hey, would you pay for this? And they're like, yeah. And about a few weeks in, I realized I still don't have any clients. I really love working on this thing. What if I get an investor? And I started asking all my clients, do you want to invest in this? And like, I picked the biggest number and it started off. But I guess it was profitable, but it was such a small sum, like at most $100 a month, because we were charging a commission just like Gumroad. That basically at one point in August, my investor decided to pull out, and I was in the middle of implementing like multi-currency payment processor, and I basically had a lot of bugs, and I decided, you know what, let's put this on hold for when I can actually focus full time on it.
Yeah.
Now it's shut down, and I'm a bit annoyed about the fact that it's shut down. I think I've been a bit too early with the idea. There isn't that much of a demand right now for, like, in the mainstream for crypto payments.
Yeah.
So
that's fun though. That would be a great project to work on.
Yeah.
Even as just a portfolio piece.
Yeah, I really want to rebuild it, but I haven't had the time. I mean, and especially since I really want to break into like Web3 and DeFi and that type of stuff, I'm not sure if that's where I want to spend my time right now. What would you advise me?
I think it's a great avenue. So I would just say, just fucking build stuff, man. Like, I personally feel like I'm never going to get a traditional job again. I feel like Twitter DMs and Discord groups and
it's fun.
And my GitHub portfolio, that's honestly how I'm gonna get my next few jobs in the upcoming years. I don't anticipate going to I don't know if you've ever had the experience and pleasure of hardcore software engineering interviews, but it's one of the worst things in the world, I think.
I was lightly interviewed by TopTal, but I never got to like the coding interview. Because a lot of people just say, I'm all, hey, I've been a freelancer for 2 years. Like, I have this, I do that. And most of these big companies, they tell me, no, you got to have job experience.
Yeah. See, they're completely wrong.
I think so. I like to believe that.
Yeah, no, I do. I think that now. Maybe not specifically this point in time, but in the upcoming at minimum 2 years, they're going to be completely wrong. Personally, like all of the coolest technology and all of the coolest dApps and web apps and any of that stuff, I've seen it on random fucking Discord channels and posts and someone's Vercel app, just like, hey, check out this thing. Like, holy shit, this is so much more engaging and amazing than anything that I've seen coming out of corporate worlds.
Yeah.
That take, dude, their turnaround time is obnoxiously long sometimes.
Why is that? Why do they have such long turnaround times?
It depends on the culture of the company. So I worked for, like I said, enterprise, but they weren't really a software company. They're definitely in like Fortune 10 or something, global Fortune 10. So they're fucking a behemoth, but they weren't technically a software company. So I think that's one of the reasons why I kept running into why the things were so slow, because they just didn't understand software to the degree that I did, and to a lot of other engineers. They were just too slow, and they were such an old company also. They've been around for at least 100 years. So they have all of these established procedures and priorities that worked 50, 20 years ago, but they just, they don't work because they just get in the way, to be honest with you. I fought for so long to get a CI/CD pipeline. I had several meetings with my managers explaining how Amazon's website is updated at least 10,000 times per day just because of all of their automated test builds and pipelines. And every time you touch Amazon's website, it's a different version. They're always changing something. And that is 100% because their engineering team is lean. They can put all of the reliability and they test the shit out of everything before. And it's all automated, so you don't have to worry about, oh, maybe I forgot to change this button function so it returns the correct variable. The test will tell you that, and it won't deploy. Like, it's 100% automated.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that, dude. And I've had change requests that take a month before, and it's like, by the time we get that deployed, I'm going to have all these other changes, and I'm going to have to wait another month for those to get deployed. And like, we need to build these pipelines and automate it. Like, I can do these. I can build these for you. Let me help you guys. Holy shit. I don't know why it's such a struggle.
What's your current tech stack right now?
Fucking C++, man. That's it.
All of it.
I've spent my entire career avoiding C++ with a passion because I hate it so much. And now I'm 100% C++.
What would you tell, like, since we're both breaking into Web3, what would you tell two different people? What would you tell, like, a person that's completely new to all software engineering, all web development? What would you tell that guy? And then what would you tell a guy that's already an established Web 2 developer but wants to break into Web 3?
So there's a lot of overlap with both of those. For someone who has no background in any sort of logic or programming or anything, I would tell them to start learning TypeScript. Specifically TypeScript, because JavaScript is chaos. And JavaScript you might learn faster, and there's definitely a lot of overlap. I mean, under the hood, TypeScript is JavaScript. But if you want more of an enterprise level job, even a lot of the startups that I've been interviewing and looking at recently, most of their stack is written in TypeScript. And it's good. They should be, because TypeScript is so much more valuable in the JavaScript world. So from someone coming from nothing, I would say just start with TypeScript. Build some fucking websites. Build some crazy command language. It doesn't have to be crazy. Just understand core logic functions. Figure out what a for loop is. Figure out if statements. Just logical branching. Honestly, engineering isn't really that complicated. They're just for loops and fucking if statements at the end of the day.
Let's say that.
But for someone who does have experience, I'm in the same boat as you. So I've just been going balls deep into fucking Web3 technology, learning Solidity, learning Web3.js, learning Embers.js, everything. I've been reading all of the white papers, and honestly, as boring as it sounds, I've been reading Ethereum documentation because that's the source. Everything's built on top of that. There's no reason. And they actually have pretty good documentation, which makes me happy. There's been a lot of times in my experience where the documentation fucking sucks and it's frustrating as hell.
A big part of it is also...
Yeah, just build shit.
A big part of reading documentation, I think, is having some experience. I hated reading documentation when I was a beginner, but now I like it. I think it's very understandable. It's much easier to understand. But I can see why beginners avoid it.
Yeah, no, I did for quite some time, to be honest with you. And even probably by the time I got my enterprise job, anytime I would ask the senior engineers or the architects questions, that was their first response. Like, did you check what the documentation said?
Yeah.
Like, Yeah, obviously. That's but no, that's my first go-to if I'm stuck with something. So, as long as the documentation's good. Like I said, there's been so many times where the documentation's fucking shot. You're just like, God damn it, this sucks, man.
Hey man, it's been 40 minutes. If you want, we can keep on going and figure shit to talk about. But I understand if you're busy and you want to cut it now and you want to say like maybe something for people that watch it or plug uh your site again or whatever you want to say to end it.
I'm good, man. I freed up the morning so we could chat. I didn't have an agenda.
Well, we can keep on talking about stuff. Um, let me
Yeah,
think.
I'm down. If you got more questions, let's shoot.
Do you invest in stocks at all?
Yep, for sure.
Like, do you prefer to pick stocks individually or do you like index funds?
I don't speculate much anymore. So I don't really do individual stocks as much anymore. I did jump into the meme stock here earlier this year with GME and AMC, and I don't know if you follow that much, but that's turned out pretty well for everyone involved.
How much is it right now?
I don't know. That's one of my things is I don't look at shit. I do quarterly financial reviews on myself. So every quarter I'll go through and I will reconcile all of my accounts and then I put them in my dashboards and spreadsheets and I get kind of a general overview of how things have been going the past quarter, if they're aligning with my general goals, I suppose.
So you're like more of a long-term guy, not necessarily a day or week trader or stuff like that.
Yeah, definitely. Although I dabbled in day trading this year for the first time. So I dedicated 3 months to see how it went for me. And it went as expected. I was shot the first couple months, and then I started turning things around and started becoming profitable in the third month and realized that I could sustain it and probably make a fuck ton of money with it. But there were some things going on in my personal life that I've been pretty deterred from jobs where I have to sit at a desk all day. So I stopped my day trading stuff at that point, but yeah, my red started turning to green on that last month, and I started to actually understand what the fuck I was doing. I was no expert for sure, only 3 months, but I dedicated a hardcore amount of time to studying how day traders work and techniques and strategies and all that shit. But yeah, I don't do it anymore. I'm definitely more of a long term.
Yeah, I think long term is where it's at, and like statistically, I just don't think I can be a good day trader, and it's stressful. And at least for me, given the amount of money that I invest, even if I double my money, I'm still probably better off focusing on my career. I'm gonna earn more that way because I don't have huge sums invested. Do you like? You said personal problems. Is that like a health problem?
No. Yeah, it was. It was mental health actually. I'm real big into physical fitness, so I'm always physically solid. But yeah, I was having some mental health issues this year, just depression, and I don't really know what it was, to be honest with you. I ended up starting to speak with a brain doctor, and they helped me through some shit. But I think it was just burnout, to be honest with you, because I was just so unhappy with my career at that point. fucking 100% because it's in C++. Dude, C++ makes you depressed.
Yeah, but you're making the move to blockchain, so it's fine.
Yeah.
How often do you work out?
Oh, good question. So I work out about, I'm gonna say 4 to 6 times a week. That's my average.
I think
I'm doing that.
health is a super important thing for a developer. Like you have to work out. You definitely have to work out.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's not only just the stress relief, but just the endorphins, freaking releases.
Yeah,
and shit.
it's not even about
It's
looking
so
good.
cool.
It's not even about looking good. It's just about like feeling good and just moving and those endorphins and all that type of stuff. When you sit all day in a chair, it's just not good for you.
No, it's fucked.
It's
real annoying, actually.
Do you use standing desks?
Yeah, I do. I have one of the hybrid ones you can lift up and down. So I do cadences of 20 minutes. So I stand for 20 minutes and then I sit for 20 minutes and then I just keep alternating with that.
I'm guessing that was like super hard in the beginning.
Yeah, it took a while to get the cadence down properly because I was just so used to sitting on my ass all day and then go home. But yeah, it wasn't obnoxiously difficult, but it was a little odd at first, especially because when I first started it, I was working the corporate job too, so I was the only guy fucking standing up every 20 minutes. Everyone would be like, what are you doing? Like, mind your business. I'm fucking working over here.
You know, one thing I wanted to ask you about your experience with your jobs, especially since how long have you worked remote?
Not too long, maybe a couple of years now.
So pre-COVID.
It was like, yeah, it was basically facilitated from COVID. That's when I first started. I had tried to work remotely for quite some time before that, but they were fucking like, they're just too corporate, man. They wouldn't let me.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even give me a hybrid. They'd be like, no, you have to be in the office. Like, but I'm doing the exact same thing. So let me stay home. The reason that I tried to do it at that point was because my commute, I was driving about an hour and a half minimum one way.
Yeah.
And like, I'm losing 3 hours of my life every day for something I fucking hate. So can I just stay at home with my dog at least?
How do you like it, like remote? And what I wanted, I forgot about it. Like, do you do stand-ups, like daily stand-up, or do you have a schedule, or are you async and they just let you do your thing and you just do what you want and you do your job?
It's both. So I'm a certified Scrum Master, and so I've been pushing for Scrum as I'm just a big proponent of Scrum itself.
I've no idea what Scrum is.
A lot less than it used to be. Oh, what's that?
I have no idea what Scrum is.
Oh, shit. All right. You've heard Agile Frameworks, right, for software?
I mean, I've heard about them, but since I've never really worked in a company and I've always either been solo or working with freelancers that I hire, it's never been a thought.
Okay, that makes sense. So the Agile Manifesto was created, maybe, I don't even know, to be honest with you. I'm going to say somewhere in the 2000s. But essentially it was kind of like a framework for software engineering at large enterprise companies. And then there's a subset of Agile called Scrum, which is more of an algorithmic approach to Agile. So there's meetings, there's time boxes, there's terminology that I don't need to get into at this moment. But To answer your question, yes, we have daily stand-ups. They always go over the allotted 15 minutes, but that's something we're working on decreasing. I think the biggest reason is that most of the team doesn't really know what Scrum is itself. And so daily stand-ups are just about to discuss blockers that you're having, and if you need help. And anything outside of that is to discuss like implementation or
So
things along those lines.
after the daily stand up, do you like? Can you go walk with your dog midday?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
And completely disregard the schedule.
Yep.
That's good because
everything outside the daily stand up is async. I mean, obviously we have the Scrum cadence meeting, so every 2 weeks we have sprint reviews, which is like a mini demo day. So you demonstrate what you've accomplished for the past 2 weeks. And then we're supposed to have retrospectives, which is where the engineering team themselves get together and talk about what went well, what didn't go well the previous sprint. But yeah, everything else outside of that is async. As long as we get the work done, then bosses are happy. They actually negotiated to a 4-day work week, maybe 2 months ago now. So I only work 4 days a week on paper.
That's
for my regular job.
But it's like you said on paper there. Like, does that mean that in reality you actually work more, or does that mean, like, what does that mean?
Oh, yeah, no. For my real job, I only work 4 days a week. But I'm constantly working just either on my startup or just learning Solidity, basically. That's what I'm doing.
That's
on paper
too.
for my...
That's me too. Like, unless something happens, I have to do something every day. Even if it's only an hour, but I have to do something. But my schedule is completely chaotic. Like, I woke up from sleep like a few hours before we went on, and that's 2 p.m. where I live. So, it's not a nice schedule. I'm not properly made for a good schedule.
That's great. I like that.
Like, I work at night, I work during the day. It's all chaos. Never a schedule. And that's why I guess I'm drawn to a DAO, because it feels like this guy's from Japan, this guy's from Europe, this guy's from the US. Who cares when I work? And that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the benefits of our work, I suppose, is you can literally work anytime you want. I mean, that's one of the downsides also. But yeah, so like I said, I work for a startup in California, but our team's distributed also. We got people in Brazil, we got some Germans, we got me, obviously, I'm in the US, we got some Canadians. So my previous job, that was fully distributed team also. We had remote workers in India, we had people in Germany also. They're just
how well do they pay the Indian developers?
Shit.
Oh.
I'll be honest with you.
I was hopeful that maybe they don't pay the good ones shit, but
No, so that's one of the downsides of corporate. So for my company, the base salary is irrelevant of location. So to give you some perspective on my previous job, the corporate world, my salary there was significantly more than the entire team of 10 in India.
Wow.
Like, they paid me, one person, more than 10 people. And those fucking 10 people were amazing. They were probably some of the best engineers I've worked with.
I mean, even if they're not that great, it's still just the sheer output where you're thinking
Yeah.
they have to be paid more than a tenth. Like it's wow.
But
That's
to be fair, it is somewhat relative. So we had contracted through an agency, and that's all the agency charged us. So we're not going to offer to pay more. As awful as that sounds, I personally wouldn't be able to do that, but I wasn't the decision maker on that one. But that's all the agency charged us. And I personally feel like that's a little fucked up because they knew who their client was and they knew they can charge more, but also the cost of living in India is significantly less.
yeah. So
maybe to be honest, it was a really good salary for those guys, but it just didn't set well with me personally because I knew that I made more than an entire team of 10 people who have families, and just knowing Indian culture, they have their grandparents and their parents and everyone else that they support also, and I was just me, like me and my dog, and I don't know, something about that didn't set well with me personally. But I don't know, I just gave them really good reviews anytime that I could. That's like the best thing I could do for them. Like this, I would fucking 5-star all these guys. I would tell them all their PRs were great, and I'm not just bullshitting them. Like they were really fucking solid engineers. I'm not gonna lie, but I'm going to
just
give
the
credit where credit
confidence.
is due.
I think it's the confidence a part of it because maybe if they would go out on their own and they would get a job on their own without the agency, they could probably earn more. They could probably ask for more, and if they're really good, they would probably get it. That's my thought process.
Yeah.
Where do you live in the US?
Say that again?
Where do you live in the US?
New York.
Like, New York is big from what I'm gathering. So, like, do you live in the
Yeah, it's pretty
city,
big.
or do you live in the city, or do you like live in the suburbs?
I live in the suburbs. I'm about an hour away from the city.
Okay, okay. How is life there?
It's hit or miss. Some days it's good. I don't really like the people around where I live. But New York has a lot of great opportunities. I don't think I would live in the city. I used to want to live there when I was younger, but it's not my style anymore. I grew up, I grew up working on dairy farms upstate New York. So I grew up around a bunch of cows and fucking cornfields and shit. So I prefer Mother Nature, and I like going hiking and climbing waterfalls and stuff. And I miss all that stuff. And the people where I live now grew up around here, so they're used to being assholes and everyone being an asshole. So that's just how the culture is around here.
Wow, like,
I'm not an asshole, so I don't mix well with that.
why don't you move?
Say that again?
Why are you not moving? Why don't you move to a different place, a different country, maybe? I don't know. You can.
Oh, I would fucking. You broke up. You said, why don't I move? I think you said, and.
Like, you can move anywhere. You're a software engineer. You're an experienced guy. You'll always find work. Why don't you move?
Family. That's the biggest thing. I feel like personally I'm like a nomadic person. I want to experience every culture. I want to live everywhere in the world. But I'm slightly tied down to the current location just from my wife and her family. They all live here, and we have a house here, and so we're just hanging out here for a little bit.
Well, you can always go on trips and stuff. What countries have you visited?
Yeah.
What countries have you visited?
Countries? Just Canada and Mexico at this moment. Oh no, I went to Germany too. But I've seen basically all of the United States. My family and I always traveled when I was growing up. So yeah, pretty much all of the U.S. and then remote parts of Mexico and Canada and fucking. I don't remember where I was in Germany, honestly, but I drove on the Autobahn and that was fucking amazing.
No speed limits.
Dude, that was so great. I just loved it how everyone knew that they just know traffic laws. So, like, where I live now, everyone just doesn't give a shit. They don't pay attention. So, the left lane is the passing lane. You just go fast as shit on that lane.
Yeah.
And everyone on the Autobahn knew that. So, they would see me come fucking flying up on that lane, and they would, all right, I'll move over so neither of us die.
Germans are really good about their streets and their autobahns. Like that's the biggest thing they're known for in Europe.
It was amazing. I was so happy. Like, oh my god, you guys know the traffic laws and you obey them? That's fantastic.
They are very strict about their laws. Like they're super strict. Like I have friends that live in Germany and I visited Germany multiple times. Yeah, you're not really going to bypass the law in any way. And if you come from Romania, corruption is a pretty big thing in here, and we're used to bypass some laws sometimes, right? Go to Germany and all that stuff flies out the window.
Yeah, they seem pretty strict.
Yeah.
With that. Thankfully, I didn't have any altercations with the German police, because I don't think that would go well.
Yeah. Like you can go. I know you can go to prison or to jail for fines in there.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
that's no good.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, I love Germany though. I don't know if it was just area. I don't know if it was just the area that I was in, but I would probably live in Germany for a few years. It was so clean. Like I don't know how else to explain it. The area I was in, and upon coming back to the U.S. and reflecting about why I liked it so much, I realized that there were no power lines anywhere, and I think that was one of the most aesthetically pleasing parts of that particular area that I was in. I'm assuming they buried them because there's clearly power everywhere, but
yeah,
not having the fucking power line pollution just visually, I found that very appealing to me.
You know, you should come visit more of Europe. It's pretty nice. I've visited I think a big chunk of Europe. I mean, I've been to France, I've been to the UK. I didn't like the UK. The UK sucks. I'm gonna say that. I'm perfectly upfront about that one. Italy is nice.
That's funny.
But the UK sucks.
Yeah. I think the only part of the UK that I would like is seeing a Premier League game. I fucking love that.
Seeing the Premier League? Oh, you're a soccer fan?
Yeah.
I wouldn't have thought about it really. I mean, you guys are not really big on soccer in the US.
No, it's annoying as hell. There's not many soccer fans over here.
And here it's like it's everything. It's everything is soccer. Everybody watches soccer. Everybody bets on soccer. You can't escape it if you want it.
That's funny. Do you like it?
I never was really drawn to it. I was more of a contact guy. When I was young, I used to do karate. Then I joined the boxing gym. Then I did some MMA. And now I'm just a lazy motherfucker. Basically.
Come on, Alex. We were just talking about how important fitness is for everyone.
It is.
You gotta get back in.
It is, and I always suggest people that they should work out, and I do work out a few times a week at home, but I really wish I'd get back in the ring and fight like at least a few times a month. It's just this amazing feeling to fight somebody.
Yeah, it really is. It's you know what it is, but there's nothing else like it. Just the combativeness and the sportsmanship involved with combat sports. If you've never done it, then it's hard to explain it. But
Yeah.
I've had several conversations with people who be like, "Oh, it's just so barbaric." Like, it's literally the opposite of barbarism.
That's what they
So
always
much
say.
better.
They always ask stuff like, "Why would you want to get punched in the face and hurt?" And like, no, it's like chess. It's just, and it's
Yeah.
super satisfying for some reason. It's amazing. What did you do? Because I know you did martial arts too.
Yeah, boxing was definitely the most prevalent one for me. I did karate when I was younger and some taekwondo and shit, but those were garbage. They were just McDojos.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I quit one of my jobs and moved so I could train for boxing because I had a goal to be a professional boxer at that point in my life. But
Me too.
the pros in the gym, they made sure I understood that my brain was much more valuable.
It's
just beat the shit out of me. Like, dude, you're too smart for this. So we're dumb, so we can do this. So
it's a lot of sacrifice to make a career out of that, and a lot of risk. I'm kind of half happy I quit it. Kind of.
Yeah.
Do you think it helped you in your career as a software engineer?
I would say maybe only for the discipline aspect, but I've always been a very disciplined person in general. So I don't know if it more amplified or I don't know. I don't think it really helped per se, but just the discipline part. But like I said, I was already disciplined.
To me, it's like a frame of reference because I see people complain that programming is hard, and it is. It's very hard. But when you've been punched in the face and you've starved yourself for a week to make the weight cut to go into the ring,
Yeah.
it's like it's not that hard.
No, if anything, just look up the documentation.
Yeah. Those weight cuts are the worst.
Yeah.
Like, if I could pick one thing I hated the most, I hated the weight cuts the most. I mean, you can see I'm a bit of a fatso, so definitely for me the weight cuts were a bit like the worst part.
Yeah. I honestly just hate running, man.
You did?
I don't mind cardio. I'll jump rope all day. I'll happy bag all day. But running is so boring to me.
Yeah, that's me too. It's the most. I'd rather get beat. Like it's just super boring.
That's funny.
I used to always tell my coach, "Look, have me. I don't know, do anything. Just don't put me to run. Don't have me run."
Yeah. And it's funny because when I would have to run constantly for boxing, I actually grew to like it briefly for like maybe a week. And then I was like, God damn, it's just so bad. I can't stand it.
How long did you box?
Not too long. I think maybe 2 years. I think I took it serious.
Yeah, that's about it for me too. I did it 2 years, where I actually went to competitions, and then I did another year where I didn't go to competitions, and then I did some judo too later.
Oh, that's cool. I've got my daughter in jiu-jitsu right now.
Yeah.
And I'm considering joining myself because I've always been a fan of jiu-jitsu. It's like physical chess, and I love chess also.
That stuff's dangerous, man. I mean, you can break somebody's arm and stuff. It's super dangerous. I think at least in the cage or in the ring, it's safer to get punched in the face than to have somebody that doesn't know what they're doing attempt not a choke but an arm bar on you or stuff like that, I'd rather get punched in the face. It's safer.
Yeah, no, I agree. Just because it's so easy to just pop that if you have no idea what you don't have enough knowledge of. Oh, this is too far. I just broke your fucking elbow. Yeah, it's good for her though, just because of the nature of jiu-jitsu. I mean, she's a really tiny girl, and she's always going to be tiny. So if she can choke you out, then it's so much more beneficial for her than she's not she's never going to knock me out by punching me, even if she was a full-grown adult.
Yeah,
but she could choke me out easily. So I think it's great for women personally, and just. I mean, I still want to do it just because I don't really have a grappling background. And I notice a lot of fights go to the ground if you don't knock them out fast enough. So.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, if we're training for street fights, I think the best bet is to have some sort of a weapon. It's easier for you Americans to get a hold of a gun. But that's I think like the best bet if you're really afraid for your safety.
Yeah.
Do you hunt with your own gun?
I don't anymore since I moved closer to the city, but I grew up hunting and stuff. Yeah, definitely. My family are real big hunters. My grandpa's actually a published author for a hunting book and several magazine articles.
Awesome. I have a license too, but I've been hunting, but never with my own gun because I've never got to buy my own gun. But I do have my license.
Is it difficult to acquire guns there?
It's super easy actually. It's
no shit.
Well, it's not. It's difficult to obtain a handgun for personal protection, but it's super easy to obtain a shotgun for hunting.
Okay.
So then,
that's it, I guess.
If you have a shotgun and a rifle, I think that suffices as pretty good protection.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want anything else really. Handguns are just small and convenient, but honestly, I don't even have any guns now, and I'm much closer to the city than I ever was. So I don't know. It just doesn't bother me. I'm not worried about it.
Hey man, I think we should wrap this up. I'm gonna go eat something. And do you want to say like anything at the end of this?
I guess if you're struggling with procrastination, check out my company, Lifeboss. I can throw you guys some discount codes if you want. Give you some percentage off your first month if you're interested in trying it out.
I'll have a link to your Twitter and to Lifeboss in the description. If you want to put links to anything else, just let me know. I'll put them in the description. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, man. I appreciate you chatting with me. It's been fun.
Yeah.
We should definitely do it again.
We should. We're going to do it again. I mean, definitely next year. I can't wait for you and for me to get our first jobs in Web3, and then we can definitely talk a lot about that.
Yeah, I agree.
Hey man, have a good one. You guys watching, have a good one too. I'm gonna edit this and send you the edited video before I post it, just so we can, both be fine with it. And other than that, let's stop the recording.